Awesome. Meat-based six, hey?
So
Oh my
exciting.
gosh.
I
So
yeah, I we have so much.
yeah. So I was laughing this morning because I messaged you last night, which was yesterday,
Yeah.
which is your yesterday, my today. But I messaged you and I said this is gonna be super weird because this morning I messaged you and I said, "Hey, I'm getting my coffee ready," and you said to me, "Oh wait, I'm just getting my blow up mattress ready." So this is so
Yeah.
weird.
Oh yeah, we could not be on more like opposite schedules right now. Um, but hey, you know what? Like I'm back in America, back in the US. I will sleep on a blow up mattress. I will do whatever like to stay here at this point.
How
But
was
I wanted to
your how
mention
was
to
your flight?
you. Yeah, so I wanted to like talk to you about that because kind of like the before getting to the flight. So just for like context for people tuning in that don't know maybe what was going on, I was in Amsterdam. I'm now back in America, specifically California, for a short period of time. And I wanted to move back to America where things were more open than Amsterdam. Amsterdam had been going through lockdowns and things just kept getting more intense week by week by week with more restrictions. So, as you know, Josh, you've had to do this as well, that regardless of vaccination status, you do have to get a rapid antigen test done within 24 hours of your flight going to the US. That's like one of the rules the US has, right? And so I think I'm so like, I just think I'm like so on top of things. And I'm like, oh yeah, Taylor, we have an appointment at this time. Like we're going, it's like, you know, 0.2 kilometers away from us. Like it's chill. We get there and the girl's like, oh no, this isn't the right test that you need to fly. And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, I'm looking at CDC, I'm looking at like all these different things, and I'm like, it says like a antigen test. And she goes, no, like, so that's for like the Corona app check that I have.
Mm,
She goes, you need the one that comes with the certificate.
the
So I'm like,
PCR.
oh, okay.
Mm,
No, not technically the PCR, but just it has to be like written and like signed off by someone. It can't just be like a little thing that says negative or whatever.
mm.
Like it has to be some certificate. She goes, you need the certificate. And I was like, well, since we're here, can we just do the first one? Because let's just make sure that's negative before then I pay for a test, you know, twice. Right. So I go in there and this girl, like, she was like a really young, nice girl. And I was just like, oh, cool. Like, it's going to be fine. Like, I've done this test like 20 to 30 times. Right. Like, it's fine. This was the furthest it has ever gone up my nose in my life. I verbally made a sound and like I think I Taylor said I yelped. And she went into here. Like she went into this sinus cavity, okay? Like it was gruesome and it burned and then she took it out and I was like, "Oh my God." Like I was like, "Why do you?" And I asked her, I go, "Why do you have to go up that high?" Like I've never had it that high, you know? The test at home, you just like do like the right inside of your
Mm.
nostril. Like you don't even go past the anyway. So get this. Then Taylor goes and he has the same experience. And then we figure out that our best shot at like getting a test done within the 24 hours is to stay at the same facility, sign up there, and then get the next test done. So yeah, I got double screwed by this chick. And I was like, you know what? Just go in the left nostril this time so I can be like double messed up on both sides. So she did it on the other side. And I actually cursed during this one. Like it was
Yeah.
just reflex. I cursed and Taylor says I was so dramatic and there was people in there, but I will tell you, a Dutch man was like literally like yelling at her after she did it to him. So like I wasn't mad at her. I was just mad that like it was happening and like how deep she went. And the Dutch guy was saying, he's like, why would you have to go that far? Like you don't have to go that far. Like I've never had this gone this far. And like I made verbal sounds and there was people listening.
Was
So
he cursing in
yeah.
Dutch? Was he cursing in Dutch?
Yeah, I don't really know exactly like what he was saying, but he was angry.
But he
Like
was
he
definitely
was,
angry. Yeah, you can tell.
oh
You
yeah.
can tell.
Oh yeah. And so like everything was squared away. We were both obviously negative, right? Like neither Taylor or myself has gotten COVID yet. I mean, I think that with everything happening, I now actually know people that have it, both vaccinated and unvaccinated. I think that it's a matter of time before it makes its rounds in people, maybe kind of like a common cold, you know? So like, I think everyone will get it at one point. I've seen all different types of people get it. And like I said, vaxxed or not vaxxed. Um, it's just going around pretty mild. But so yeah, that was like my scary thing that I did that I didn't realize that like I needed, because you just have that moment of like, oh no, everything's off. You know, like
Yeah.
I'm not going to get to the US. But it was all fine. I will say though, like on the flight, we went to the Dutch vet office. Like you have to get like a little health checkup for your dogs, you know, like just to be sure. And like we were trying to get medicine, and classic Dutch, they're like, oh, we don't believe in giving, you know, tranquilizers or sedatives to dogs. And I'm like, what? Like, they need something to, like, it's a 10-hour flight. Like, we need something, right? Last time we gave it to them like too late, and they were totally just like tripping out, like trying to like be with us and stuff. So this time we did give them something, but I was laughing because they're probably going to be like, hey, just give them paracetamol, like, you know, like give the dogs paracetamol for the flight, you know, because that's what the Dutch people do. Like the Dutch doctors, they just prescribe paracetamol for everything. It's like kind of like an ongoing joke in the Dutch culture.
Mm.
um but everything went fine. There was meatballs that I had. I will tell you, I brought boiled eggs. Okay. Brought boiled eggs on my flight. Also got some like cured, like it's probably like one of the best actually cured like salamis I've ever had, which was kind of rare. But I brought like boiled eggs, and I kid you not, the guy in front of me like definitely said something when I started like, you know, peeling them on the plane. um but yeah, dude, like it was gnarly, but I didn't eat anything bad. Like I didn't eat anything that would, you know, upset my stomach or put me off. I was just like, dude, I'm over it. Like I don't even want to go down that route. So it was pretty good. I was hungry though when I got off.
Yeah, I can imagine. What I saw you ordered my favorite takeaway food when you landed. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, so I went to In-N-Out for the first time in what, like over 4 months now.
Too
And I
long.
got my favorite order. Yeah, like In-N-Out's pretty, like just the taste, like it's just so specific that when you have it, you're like, oh man. But I got three Flying Dutchmans because I thought I could eat all three. And then I ended up eating like one and a half because Taylor ate every single thing they gave us. And of course, they gave us like three different like types of desserts on the plane, and like all these things that like, and then like Taylor would eat my sandwich. Like they'd bring up like, hey, do you want a sandwich? And Taylor would be like, just take it. And then like he would eat it. So he was like totally full. And I'm just like over there. I'm like, well, my eggs are out. This is out. Like I'm hungry. Like this has been 10 and a half hours. Like I'm ready. So we got
Mm.
that, which was really delicious. And I will say though, like it's good, but I don't know about you. I don't like to eat like fast food all the time. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't feel amazing when I eat. Like if I eat In-N-Out every other day, like I probably wouldn't feel that great. Do you know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I know that it's not the highest quality grass-fed burger, you know, like
Yeah.
so.
I remember when I flew into Amsterdam beginning of last year. Sounds so weird saying that. And in fact, I think this is our first episode. No, is this our first episode back? No, it's not our second episode since the start of the new year. But
Oh yeah.
um I remember the beginning of last year, I flew into Amsterdam, and I was exactly the same as you. I was so hell bent on staying with my diet because I just wanted to feel good, and I was so hungry getting off the plane. I remember I landed in Paris, and it was like 3 in the morning, and just nothing was open, and I was literally like, I felt like a walking zombie in Paris airport, just like looking around me. The only place that was open was a Starbucks. And I don't know if you've ever had like coffee, an intense amount of coffee on an empty stomach. That's all I could, that's all I had.
Yes.
Like literally, I
Oh
went to Starbucks,
man.
I ordered a coffee, and I was so buzzed on caffeine and I was so hungry. And it just got to the point where I was like, oh my gosh, like I really just need to get something now. So anyway, I flew. Eventually, when I got to Amsterdam, Burger King was open, and then I remember I ordered like about 6 sort of plain burgers with cheese, and I just sat there in the airport like this, like this
There you
weirdo
go.
just
You
eating
got
like
to do what you got to do.
yeah, yeah, you do.
People are always really taken back too when like you
Mm,
like when I am at like InNOut, for example, and I'm eating with a fork and knife. People are always so interested or like kind of like, whoa, what's that person doing? Like that's so weird. By the way, speaking of Starbucks, I have a bone to pick with Starbucks, right? Okay, there's Starbucks obviously in Amsterdam, right? Like they exist. However, there is the most amazing coffee places where there's freshly roasted coffee. One of my biggest things that like you can make a change in your life, I think, is where you get your coffee from. There's if you are getting coffee that's like mass produced, right? That's coming in these bags, right? Like that's not freshly roasted, right? You need to get freshly roasted coffee. And the reason is, I think you've seen this as well, but there's mold, there's different toxins, it's not as fresh, right? So, getting mass produced coffee beans is not the way to go. If you can find like a local roaster, which Amsterdam has so many, so does like California, pretty much like all over coffee exists, right? Like it's like everyone drinks coffee. So they exist. My advice is try to find like a local roaster where you literally can look at the back and see when the beans were roasted, right? And like get that. Like Starbucks, for example, I went to Starbucks for the first time here in the US, or sorry, okay, Amsterdam airport. We could not find an actual like cafe that had like normal like European coffee in the Amsterdam airport. There was a Starbucks. And so I was like, oh, like I'll just order from Starbucks. Like it's probably like the European version, So like it'll be fine. Well, like of course it wasn't, but I ordered a flat white. So like flat white is the drink I make every morning. It's 2 espresso shots and then it's like 2 parts milk, right? So like if you got it in Europe, it would still be like in a little cup, right? It's kind of like a cappuccino. Instead of foam, it's milk. And then it has the 2 shots. So like I thought I was getting that. And the girl like gives me like my cup and like, Nicole, right? And I get up and get it. It's literally like a huge size, like the biggest latte size possible, like in Amsterdam, like in Europe, right? And I'm like, dang it. And then like I drink it and I'm like, God, this just tastes awful, man.
yeah,
Like
I get
this is
so I get so peeved off. You speaking my language now, by the way. Yeah, I mean, you know how much I
coffee.
love my coffee. I'm a
Yeah.
big fan of freshly roasted coffee. But that's why when you're traveling, you have to be so specific. Like if you
Mm.
can't go anywhere else but a Starbucks, I say, can I have a double shot flat white in a small cup, please? So you have to say to them, like, can you put it in a small
Oh,
cup? I've learned my lesson
spell
now.
it out.
Yeah, you have
Yeah.
to, because if you don't, then it's just going to be like this weak latte that's in a big cup, and it's not
Big
even a
cup.
flat. Yeah, it's not even a flat white. And I will add that
See,
I'll add that I 100% agree with you. Like just changing your coffee habits can make a huge difference, because I think a lot of people sort of take the power of coffee for granted, and they just, live off instant coffee or really shitty filter coffee, and they have like 10 cups a day. I think there's tremendous, like, for me, everyone thinks I drink a shitload of coffee just because I'm a big fan of it. I really don't. I drink 2 cups a day and that's me done. But
yeah.
those 2 cups are like, it's a process that I go through. I make my Chemex pour over coffee. I grind the beans.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate the sort of creative output that coffee gives me. It's like appreciating it for what it is, which is technically like a very mass legal drug, basically, that everyone drinks every
Yeah,
day.
basically.
Um, but I remember earlier last year, it was about mid last year, I went on like a bit of a, a, a sabbatical with coffee. I was only drinking decaf for like 2 weeks, and I felt like absolute shit.
Wow.
I felt like I
What does
felt
Dave Asprey say? He goes like, "It's the little joy in life. Like, do not take away my little joy in life with the coffee."
definitely, and it just teaches you a lesson, and I think if anything, the past 2 years, the plague has shown us that it's those little joys that we've sort of taken for granted. You know, going to a coffee shop. You know, people have forgotten that it's those little things that we sort of take for granted that mean so much to us. And coffee is definitely a huge one of those, you know, where when you're
Oh
traveling,
yeah.
you sort of miss your coffee machine at home and your routine and waking up and making it. And I don't know what people do in the mornings. I personally sit
Oh,
down,
I can tell you.
I journal, um, I think about my day, I plan my day. So it's a huge part of my day. And it's like
Hmm.
a habit, it's like a habit stack, which is
I would
James
say
Clear
it's
talks
a
about.
ritual. Like it's
Yeah.
almost like a ritual. Like it makes your routine even better. Oh my God, as you're drinking coffee, I'm like, oh, I have to wait like 12 hours for this.
Yeah.
I will say though, like so I call like my sacred mornings in Amsterdam, where I basically would wake up, I'd, walk the dogs, I might do like some light reading, and then like around 8 in the morning, I would actually do like my big walk, right? Like my 1 45-minute walk. And I would actually walk along and I would go to like my favorite coffee place. My favorite cafe was called Bacchus. That's in Plantage. And I would get my flat white. And then I would just like continue on my walk, like my morning exercise thing, because it has to be outside. But like there's something about it, like the coffee that complements your morning, whatever it is that you do. If you have a routine and your coffee, it makes your morning like sacred. Like it literally is like this time that you have where you're like away from the world, you're away from everything, where you just have this time like with yourself. And it's just very peaceful, I guess, too, is like the
Mm.
thing. Like I feel like every time I have my coffee, I want it to be like in a peaceful setting, or like in like a place where like I can really just like enjoy it. But I'm like you, like I only do actually one a day. I had caffeine actually yesterday, and I got like a headache and just did not feel well because I thought I needed it to stay awake. And so that has happened to me one other time before. So I am now like officially back to being a one cup in the morning gal. Like that's, I have my flat white or my cappuccino or whatever, but like one, I'm good. Cause I know that there are some people too where like caffeine messes with you. Like it can mess with you and like make you feel, I don't know, like for me, it's like headaches or just make me feel a little bit like not myself and kind of chaotic, like that caffeine high you get from the second one.
Mm.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
if anyone can get local, like I already went to my favorite place here and got fresh roasted beans. Because I was like, yeah, we need this. Because we were at a hotel for 3 nights, and the hotel served like we proudly serve Starbucks coffee, but it was like not, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't great. So we knew a
Mm.
place to go that I could get like the European version, and like they're also roasters. It's called Blue Bottle.
Oh, I love Blue
Oh, and
Bell.
get this. Oh yeah, but get this. So I have a bone to pick with them. So I we go there, right? Because it's close to the hotel as well. And I order a flat white. And I like clarified like flat white, like this much, right? Get it. It's obviously like bigger, it's almost a latte, but I'm like, okay, I'll order a cortado next time, it'll be fine. Right. And it tasted amazing, like, just how it was with but here's the thing. I take a sip at the first one they make me, and I'm like, dude, like, what is up with this coffee? I was like, this doesn't taste right. I was like, what? Like, what's up? And I was like, is this like regular milk? And he's like, oh no, like it's oat milk. We actually default to using oat milk, unless you specify otherwise. So we're always default to oat milk. And I look, Josh, no joke. I look and I'm like, oh, like, so you probably use Oatly, don't you? Oh yeah. They have a partnership with Oatly, and their thing. So this is like such a bummer for me. So I'm like, dude, like, of course, like now, like this like oat milk sensation, and like there's been a lot of research and different stuff too into like the oat milk, how like oat milk, like what was the thing about Oatly? You and I actually
Have you
talked
seen
about
what
this,
is in
right?
Oatly? Have you seen, first of all,
Yes, we were talking about this. I don't know all
there's
their
sunflower
ingredients.
oil. Yeah, there's
Yes.
literally sunflower
Poop
oil
fuzz.
in oat
Yes.
milk.
Yes. And
So
so I'm just laughing because I'm thinking about like, oh, so these people like obviously like got like a partnership with Oatly to like promote oat milk and only put it in there. So every single one of their locations, and they're big roasters, and like they have like a big brand name, I would say, like
they're
up in,
huge.
the
Yeah,
US. Yeah. And so now like Oatly has convinced them to like the default oat milk is Oatly, which as we know has vegetable oil in it.
that's
Like
so fucked. And
it's insane.
that scares me because that's like where we're heading. The fact that they're defaulting to a non-milk substitute is the scariest thing ever. That, like we are defaulting to that, and it just it just solidifies my sort of, I shouldn't say my, I should say our mission, and the things that we do, on our Instagram, on Meat Based, on our
Yeah.
blogs. It's not about, it's really not about like proclaiming to be better than anyone else. It's about standing for what we enjoy. It's as simple as that. It's like, I enjoy good meat. I enjoy good coffee. I don't enjoy people telling me that they need to put oat milk in my coffee when we have not been doing that. That's just not what coffee should be, in my opinion.
No.
And it's just about this level of like appreciation for what we enjoy. And in fact, I was listening to Adam Curry on Joe Rogan, and it's a good episode recently about food intelligence and the beef initiative. And he has this whole thing about connecting cattle farmers with Bitcoin and this whole decentralized farming network. That's pretty cool. That's fucking cool. But he talked about how, like, how we heading in that direction of, yeah, food scarcity, all of this stuff. But the bottom line is if you don't stand for something, you are just not, you're opening up the door for all of
You
these
fall for
different,
anything.
you fall for
Yeah.
anything. And that is the fact of the matter. It's as simple as that, is that there's got to be an element of standing for something. You don't have to be a dick about it. I'm never going to be somebody that says, oh, your vegan ways are wrong and they shouldn't be here, and I just don't believe anything that they're saying. No, it's about just having an element of knowing where you stand on the spectrum and being stern about it, but listening to other people's opinions. So I think that's a super, super important like discussion that
Yeah.
is happening right now. And every time you buy local, every time you support a local coffee roaster, doesn't even have to be meat based. It can be even vegetables. Let's just say you are vegan. You go buy your local vegan vegetables. That's cool. You're supporting local people. You're supporting the local economy. But for the most part, a lot of vegan produce and a lot of these vegan alternatives beyond meat burgers and shit like that, they
Yeah.
literally come, their ingredients come from all over the world. Their ingredients are more likely causing more harm than regenerative meat will ever.
Oh,
Like,
for sure. Like the whole monocropping. What do you think's happening? Like, where do you think all the almonds and all of the oat milk and everything is being processed, right? Like it bugs me, I would say, like on that vegan point too. Like it bugs me when someone makes a choice to drink oat milk instead of whole milk or organic whole milk because they think that that oat milk is helping the environment. You know what I mean? Like they think they're better in choosing oat milk because I'll tell you what, like in my unless you're like lactose intolerant and you literally are like, you know what, like I can't drink milk, like a different type of milk, like coconut milk or almond milk is better for me. Like I kind of understand that, right? Because you're literally lactose intolerant and you can't drink milk. However, if you're saying that, hey, you know what, oat milk, drinking oat milk versus regular milk is going to save the planet, like so I'm going to drink oat milk, like if that's your reason for doing it, like dude, like get in line. Like your oat milk is not really going to be the difference, and it's also contributing to monocropping. There are other animals that do die even when it's just like, when people try to do things because they don't want animals to die or they don't want, the cow to be treated poorly, in order for them to actually harvest the almonds and, all those different vegetables, they have to kill a lot of different animals, right? They have to kill rabbits, they have to kill owls, birds, snakes, anything that's like a pest basically to those crops.
Mhm.
So if you think that you're doing something because you want to say, or you want to play God and you want to say, you know what, actually those animals deserve to die, right? However, the cow doesn't deserve to die. It's kind of like
Yeah.
there's a little bit of a hypocrisy there, right?
Absolutely.
And I think people need to know that. And I think that there needs to be informed consent, trigger
Mm.
word, informed consent on what you're actually drinking when you drink oat milk. Because as we've talked about, it's marketed as being this healthy thing. It's plant-based. It's so healthy, blah, blah, blah. Right. It's like, no, those are companies that want to make money and they're manipulating and marketing to make us want to do that because they're making us think that we're virtue signaling or doing the right thing by drinking oat milk
Mm.
versus just having regular milk. Or, hey, in Amsterdam, there's those one places where you can literally go and get that milk that was, literally right there, like on a local farm, you can
Yeah.
get milk,
Yeah. It's
right? Like, why
unbelievable.
not do that? Like, keep it local, keep it
Mm.
regenerative. So I think there's a misconception, and I think there needs to be more information about what actually is in oat milk, because I guarantee you a lot of people just see it and they're like, oh, I know this brand, this is a good brand, and they buy it versus actually reading the ingredients or being informed that, hey, like these oils, this sunflower oil is probably something that you don't want to consume on a daily basis in your coffee.
Absolutely not. And I couldn't agree more. And in fact, I think Texas now um, have passed a bill where you physically
Yes.
cannot label meat, like you can't label products as a meat
Yeah.
alternative. You cannot
Yeah.
call it, you know, whatever, beef or eggs or whatever, if it doesn't contain the actual animal substance that it is. And that should be the way
Yeah.
it is. It shouldn't be oat milk. Fucking
Makes
call it something
sense.
else. Call it fucking
Yeah.
oats. I don't know. Whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it, call it. Don't call it oat milk because it's not that. It's not nothing close to milk. If you have a look at what's inside it, there's about 5 different ingredients, and it lasts for about like 6 years on the shelf. So go figure. Like something that does that is
Yeah.
not natural. It just is not natural. And not to mention that almonds are like causing freaking, are they like contributing to the droughts in California, which is also just stupid. Like if you are an environmentalist at heart and you are drinking almond milk lattes every day, you're fundamentally the biggest hypocrite that has ever lived. Because if you have a look at the
Yeah.
amount of water that it takes to sustain almond farms, it's nuts. It's crazy. So
Yeah.
again, it's actually not, it's not so much about doing your own research as it is about these companies and about propaganda telling people that that
Hmm.
default choice now is better. Because you're absolutely right. It's like people that sort of listen to us and sort of hear us out a bit, that are just like, let's just say close friends or people that are not necessarily interested in meat-based diets, they sort of come around eventually and say, oh, okay, there is some truth in that. There's a little bit
Hmm.
of truth in what he's saying. I just assumed that if I'm ordering an oat milk latte or vegan friendly option, that I'm doing good for the environment. So there's a good intention for most people, but most people just don't realize that that good intention is so misaligned, and it's so propaganda driven.
Totally. Everything is like manipulating you. It comes down to a lot of different things, right? Like these food companies, for example, like Oatly. What do you think their goal is? Do you think they're trying to make money, or do you think they're trying to save the planet, right? Obviously, they wouldn't, if they were trying to save the planet, they wouldn't be mass producing oat milk, right? So anyways, people forget about the profit machine behind certain things, right? Like Beyond Meat, you have also pharmaceutical industry, you have, the big food, right? So there's so many different things in there. But I'll tell you, and I think that people need to hear this, and it's an unpopular opinion, but I think it's rather true, is a lot of those big ones, those big industries, they care about profit. They don't care about, the end. I'm sorry, but they don't care about the individual person. like it's really, people don't like when I say that. And, I feel like a lot of times, like I'll lose views, or, people will just be like, she doesn't know what she's talking about, like whatever, and like, that's fine. But I mean, at the end of the day, like you have to admit, like businesses are making money. It's really hard for people that are making money or in that position to make more money to all of a sudden be like, you know what? No, we're gonna reel this back, right? We're gonna reel this back unless something really tragic happens.
A- Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I actually spoke to Dr. Anthony Gustin a few months back about this. And I think I sent the video to you. I'll link it below if you want to listen to my conversation with him. He has a person who started a very successful keto business where he sells these keto products. And he basically said that he just saw no way, as your business grows, it gets more complex and you have more stakeholders, you have more investors coming in.
Yep.
To get every single investor and stakeholder to align is so difficult. It's much harder to just be a single farmer in the Netherlands that sells raw milk for a living. People come, ride their bicycles, fill up their little, that's so simple. But when you've got all these
I
people,
know, I know.
it's like, how do you turn around and say to them, hey guys, I think our product is actually doing more harm than good. Let's just pull all of our funds and
Their
let's all put,
intentions, their intentions might have been good though, right? Like,
yeah,
let's give them that. Let's give
yeah.
them that. Like, maybe their intentions were great at first, but you're right. Like, you get to the point where like there's so many people involved. There's so many people that are benefiting from this. There's so many people that have to see the return of investment, right? Like, I'm sure it just gets out of control, especially when like, you hit it really good. But like all those products, like you said, they can sit on the shelf for years. They can,
Mm,
like, what you should do, like, and we've talked about this, right? And you've definitely said this a lot, but like, we like food that has no shelf life, right? Like, we take chances sometimes with the food we eat because we want things that expire. Like, if something has like an expiration date within like the same, couple months or like a month, like that's a good sign. That means there's probably not a lot of preservatives. There's probably not a lot of
mm,
processed shit in it where it can't even like stay that long. So if there's anything where like I actually, Taylor, there was this one sauce in the Netherlands, no folk sauce. It's like a garlic sauce, and like it's like their version of ranch, I feel like. But they put it on like a lot of stuff. And I remember like one time I picked it up and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look at like what is the expiration date? And I remember seeing it was like 2 years from the current time. And I'm like,
yeah.
oh my God. I was like, Taylor, I can't buy this sauce for you anymore. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I'm killing you. Like,
Uh,
this is not like this is not good. And lo and behold, you look at the ingredients. First thing is like, I think sunflower oil and then like rapeseed oil.
mm.
So yeah,
it's
just
it's
stay away
nuts.
from those. Yeah.
It's so silly, but it can make a huge difference by just reading a few food labels. It's not about being like manic. It's not about being overly worried about what you put in your body, because a lot of people can get to a point where it just becomes so manic and it becomes something that you just do unnecessarily. But just taking the
Mm.
time, just every now and again, to just read the food labels of things that you consume daily, it can make a huge difference, because that can be the difference between you feeling great or just feeling like just very suboptimal. It can really just make a huge difference, especially if you are eating a lot
Yeah.
of like packaged things. Right now, I'm not even telling you don't have to go meat based to look at your food labels.
Yeah.
It's just a simple,
Oh
simple thing
yeah.
you can do.
There's so many people now too where like I honestly, like I was talking to my sister about this, where it's like, dude, like I'm not trying to tell anyone to eat like meat or eat meat based, like, because honestly, like sometimes I feel like it's like my dirty secret, not my dirty secret, but like my secret that is gonna like keep me continuing to live my best life, like live long and prosper, you know what I mean? Like live a long life, like live a long healthy life. Like I feel like it's like the secret sauce to like having a great life, because everything is better. Like I experience the world better, like I'm in a better mood, like it, it's one of those things, but like you and I both agree, like we're not trying to like tell anyone like meat-based is best. We're not trying to tell you like you have to be meat-based, like, you know, we're purists, whatever. Like our mission is really just to tell people what has happened to us, right? Like tell people like, hey, like there's shit in that food that you should probably know about before you eat that, right?
Mm,
Like just like stuff like that. Like I don't care what people do, but I want them to be fully informed on what they're putting into their body, because I think it's manipulated to them through marketing, through deals where, you know, you default to oat milk, so you assume it's the best one for you because
mm,
obviously this company cares about me so much. It's the lack of informed consent on so many different levels right now, and especially in the food industry, that I want to break, right? Like I want people to know about.
mm.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think you touched on something so important, is that I fundamentally believe that your choices in life matter. Like your choices are a reflection of what matters to you most. So if you are plugging away every day, being consistent, buying local, eating meat based as best as possible, you know, just make it simple, mostly meat. That's what I like to say, you know, 90% of your calories should be meat based. The rest, figure out what works for you. I'm not saying there's a right way or a wrong way, but your choices matter. The choices that you make every single day matter. You are voting for things that that you care
Yeah.
for, and products that you care for, and companies that you care for. So choose wisely. But
Yeah.
early on, when we were discussing the sort of Starbucks thing, what sprang to mind, I was recently on a safari here in South Africa, and we saw
No big
amazing.
deal, just a safari.
No big deal. Just I haven't been for a long time,
I love it.
and we saw leopard, we saw rhino, we saw lion. That leopard sighting we had was unbelievable. There was a leopard like maybe 2 meters away from me
You got
walking
a really
by.
good picture of it too, right? That's what
Yeah,
I saw, like the amazing picture.
thanks. I appreciate that. I've been going on safaris since I like could barely walk, and I've never seen a leopard sighting that close. Maybe I
Oh,
can.
wow.
I'll put the link in the description so people can see the picture that I'm talking about. But when I was there, um, you'll see where I'm getting to. But when I was there, we had breakfast in the mornings, we had lunch, we had dinner, and they cooked omelets on this sort of steel sheets as people do, like where you can cook patties on it, whatever you want to cook on it. But
Yeah.
he had this big tub of vegetable oil. It was probably sunflower oil sitting there. And you know when you
Stop.
walk and you know when you walk into a place and it's like this thing was just looking at me. It was like there was like dramatic music, and I was like, oh my word, there's my worst nightmare. But so I went up to him and he was cooking everyone's omelets, and I went up to him and I said, hey, do you mind if you can cook my omelets in butter? And he was like, sure, no problem. So that's a huge thing for me because a lot of people, especially somebody like my mom's actually like terrified sometimes to ask for something. I know that sounds silly, but a
Yes.
lot of people are in that position where they're afraid to flex their, what I call their asking muscles, and actually just put yourself out there and maybe look like the weird one at the table for 2 minutes. But I just asked him, I said, hey, I'm allergic to sunflower oil. Do you mind cooking my omelet in butter? And he made a compromise, and he just said, cool, that's no worries at all. He went in the back of the kitchen, got some butter, put it on, cooked my omelets in butter. I was a happy chap. But the point is that, you know, ask and you shall receive. But you just got to be
Yeah.
willing to ask. And if you're at a restaurant, just ask the waiter, just say, hey, I'm allergic to sunflower oil. I'm allergic to vegetable oils. Do you mind cooking my steak or my whatever in butter? You know, it
Hmm.
seems weird at first, but it just makes a huge difference. And you just get better and better at asking for things
Oh,
that maybe,
yeah.
yeah, are aligned with.
I, okay, that is like, uh, you said two things that are really important. Like one, voting with your mouth, right? Like you, whatever you purchase is like you're literally saying like, hey, like I want to support this business, right? Like the voting, like you get the choice of like who you want to support. So like I love that, and I think that that should be like like a hashtag, like vote with your mouth. Like things will probably get pretty interesting, but anyway. And then the other thing is like, yeah, like I think people are really nervous to ask because they don't want to be seen as high maintenance, right? Okay, I am high maintenance as fuck. And I can tell you, like, I don't care. Like, I literally, like, I got to the point where, like, I don't care because I'm going to feel that much better. And, like, I think you just get to that point. But, like you said, like, it takes practice and, like, you kind of like build up to it. And sometimes it seems like embarrassing. But at the end of the day, like, you're going to get exactly what you want. And when you don't get what you want, right, and you don't ask, you're still going to feel bad. So it's kind of like which shitty feeling do you want? Like the one that like you literally ate something which you really didn't want to eat and you're going to feel sick later, or just like for 2 minutes maybe your friends give you shit, which I think is good. Like I think people need to give each other shit. Like
Exactly.
it's a good
And
thing.
which in my opinion, the former that you mentioned where you don't
Mhm.
ask and you feel like shit, that is a fucking double compromise. That
Double.
is double. That is
Yeah.
you feeling like shit, but also just making a compromise on what you value in life. To me, that is the
Yeah.
worst thing you can do. Like, this is a
Yeah.
hugely important topic, is that when you compromise on your values, you are setting yourself up for so many different levels of failure, whether it's physical, spiritual, emotional, mental,
Relationships.
relational, so
Hmm.
it's, yes, maybe we've labeled it as high maintenance, but I don't see you as somebody who's a high maintenance. Maybe somebody else does, but for me, I see you as somebody who's living life the most authentic way, true to her values. But that's just me. I know some people
Well,
definitely might label it as high
yeah.
maintenance. But again,
Fuck them anyway.
fuck
Screw
them
them.
anyway. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, totally. And I think it's one of those things too where like, maybe if you're uncomfortable too, like I understand sometimes you're like around strangers or people you just met. But like remember, like people don't care as much as you think. Like maybe they'll razz on you for like a second and be like, oh, Nicole needs to order this with like a special grass-fed Kerrygold butter, right? But like at the end of the day, like no one cares. Like I'm sorry, like no one cares that much like what you're eating. Like
Yeah.
yeah, someone will probably look at you and be like, really?
Yeah.
Really, Nicole? And I'll be like, absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So yeah, it doesn't really matter. But I was gonna say something to you, like, because I feel like a lot of people, whatever point of their life, there's a lot of people that, don't necessarily have a backbone or maybe are like super soft spoken or, and I always feel for those people because I feel like they always learn like a lesson like later in life, whether it's like just continuing to eat something. Because you have to remember, like, okay, this is really weird and this might be like kind of like jumping around, but you have to remember that like there's a person out there that might really want to try to eat more meat based or maybe wants to eat something different, but their wife or their husband is the one cooking the meals every night that's not on board. Can you just like
Mm.
imagine that for like, or just think about that for a second? That like literally like you are subject to what this person is cooking because like they're the chef of the house, right? Like they're the cook of the house. Cause I always think about this because Taylor eats what I cook, right? Like by default. Like he doesn't complain, he doesn't do anything, right? So like unless like whatever I'm cooking, like he's eating. So I think
Mm.
about the opposite, right? Like if you have like people that are not on board with like meat-based eating and your wife does all the cooking, you literally have to be like, hey, you know what? Like I'm going to start eating this way. And if they're not on board, that means that both of you have to, cook different meals or whatever, right? But like there's some people that are just stuck in that way. And my point is, there's the soft spoken person, right? Who doesn't want confrontation, who doesn't want to say, hey, you know what? I love your cooking, but I'm going to do this instead, right? They just they don't want like the confrontation of that because they're very soft, and being soft is still a good thing,
Mm.
but I'm saying like if you don't stand for anything or if you don't like speak up, right, you're going to continue down like a path that you might not want, whether that's the food you're eating, who you're dating, or like the people that you're hanging out with.
Mm.
So I always think I'm like, dang, like, because in the beginning, Taylor and I, like, cooked things separate. And it was a huge thing for me. I was like, really? Like, you want to cook separate? Because I did all the cooking. And he just was like, yeah, like if I do carnivore, I'm gonna get like I'm gonna have a heart attack. So like he cooked chicken by himself and we both cooked separately, one after the other in the kitchen. And that's really
That
awkward.
must have been very
But
interesting.
eventually, yes,
Yeah,
I'm like,
wait.
what is happening here? Like, why don't you trust me? Eat what I cook you.
Aren't you reading like some book about relationships right now, or am I just imagining things?
Yeah,
Talk
no,
to me
no,
about
no.
that.
You're okay. So like I feel like okay. So like I always try to read books that very much so push your mind or try to open your mind, right? So I had Jocko's book, I finished Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules of Life, totally eye-opening. Recommend that to everyone, no matter like who you are. Insane. So good. Now I am reading the Alpha Females Guide to Men in Marriage. So this might come basically. So this girl, Susan Vanacker, she's the author. She wrote a very controversial book, which is called The Flip Side of Feminism, right? So this is like another one of her books, right? And basically, if you're like me, I'm very type A, I'm a control freak, I'm very, assertive, confident. I get things done, I'm outgoing, I'm an extrovert. It's alpha, right? I do obviously have some beta qualities. No one's like full alpha or they're a bitch, or if they're a male and they're full alpha, they're just an asshole, right?
Mm.
Like everyone is a little bit of both alpha and beta, right? So is yin and yang, right? Like the female and the male, right? Anyway, this girl basically talks about how like an alpha female really struggles with men and especially in marriage, just because we're trying to control everything. You're trying to tell your husband what to do, right? You're trying to like basically control these aspects and it's not even your life you're controlling. So me understanding that I know I'm a control freak. I know I have these habits that I don't want to inflict on my husband. I'm reading this book to really get no sugarcoating, but the full on truth of how you can be that person and how you should have your dynamic with your husband. So you don't lose your husband. Not that I'm saying that like Taylor and I are at that point or anything, right? But she basically talks about how, women have this out now. We have divorce, right? And there's kind of this assumption that like if you get a divorce like from this person, like it's going to make you happy. And I know there's obviously situations of abuse, there's obviously situations where divorce is very, very needed. But at this day and age, it's kind of like the feminist movement and all these things have made it where we've kind of made males and our husbands that are the ones that are like responsible for a failed marriage, or like they are the culprit, they are the issue, men are the ones to blame. Which is not the mindset that I want to have, and probably not a healthy mindset to have if you're in a marriage with a man. So I'm reading this book to get a better understanding, and it actually gives me action items after each chapter to let me know like, hey, like how to switch this behavior and maybe how to approach your husband, like not tell them directly what to do, but maybe say, for example, like, hey, can you please like I need you to clean that. I told you to clean that like last week. Like you need to clean that side of the room, or you need to clean out the garage, right? Instead saying something like, you know what, I really love it when like, you clean out the garage, right? And men are super simple. So it goes through this like whole thing. And I'm in like the third chapter right now, but I'm just trying to practice these like action items. And I'm trying to I'm trying not to be a person that ends up being someone that your husband can't be around, right? Because no one wants to have your husband by the balls, be calling the shot, telling him what to do, emasculating him and making him like be dismissive or make him feel bad, right? Like it's just it's kind of the opposite of everything that's gone around in our culture right now. of this feminist movement. And so I'm giving it a go and I'm reading it, and I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I sometimes read things out to Taylor and he's like, yeah.
Yeah,
He's like,
do that.
obviously. He's like, yeah, men are simple. Like, yeah.
You're touching on something so important, and I can't underscore this enough, but for me, living a meat-based life is a catalyst for so many different things. So you for me, it's not just about your diet, but you're talking about the growth of you as a person and a wife to your husband. So for me, again, it's not just a diet. I believe what it does is it opens up a door to so many different avenues of growth in your life that you wouldn't have maybe experienced if you didn't take the
Yeah.
plunge and go meat based and stand for your values and things like that. So that's super important, whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's relational growth, whether it's whatever form of growth you're into, it's gonna expand your consciousness as a person. There's no doubt about it. It's gonna flex those muscles and take you to places that you might not have gone to if you didn't, or if you just sat around and just conformed to whatever.
Oh yeah. And it's honestly, I'll tell you this, like it's really scary to admit or like recognize something about yourself that you want to change, right? And so I don't think like mentally, if I was on like a standard American diet or, how I was in the past, right? I don't think I would have enough control over like myself to understand that and kind of like detach the two. Like, hey, like I'm still a good person, but there's an aspect of myself that I want to make better, right? Like I don't think that ever would have been a thought to me. It would have been like, this is the way I am, Taylor, like if you don't love me and how I am, then like whatever, fuck you, bye. Like it's not supposed to be like that. Like people need to know that like you should have that openness to be able to change certain parts of yourself. And I think where like the mood stability comes into play with meat based, it allows us to kind of like make those decisions level headed and not just have the dramatic moments or this is it, or you know what I mean? Like you're like, oh yeah, I kind of am a control freak. I would like to reel that in. Like you have a very calm conversation with yourself in your mind about that versus just like, you know, whatever would happen if you didn't have that like level of, stability going on in your mind. So I'm very happy about that. And just for the record, this is not something suggested by Taylor. This is not something suggested by anyone. I just really like this author and I kind of like her stance on, you know, uh, the way of the feminist movement and the negatives that have actually come out of that as well. It wasn't all good. So I think if you ever want to read about that, Flip Side of Feminism is a good book. And just prepare yourself to open your mind a little bit.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely seems like an interesting read. I myself have recently gotten obsessed about a book. It's called 4,000 Weeks by Oliver Berkman, and the subtitle is Time Management for Mortals, and it's all about this guy who
Love it.
was obsessed with time management, and I think we are obsessed with time management. We're obsessed with the idea that we can cram so many different things into a day, into a week, plan our lives to the T. I'm sure you've experienced this, being a type A personality and
Oh yeah.
alpha driven. But the bottom line is that, I mean, the premise of his book is when you face the fact that we are here for such a finite amount of time, and you are not going to get everything done, no matter what you do, no matter how much you plan your day, you are not going to get everything you want to get done. It just opens up this like door of freedom to your life when you just accept the small amount of time you have, so it allows you to focus on the few things that you really do want to focus on, not because you are planning your day into 15-minute increments and you're a time management freak. It's just fully accepting the way things are and what you really want to do. So again, if you want to add that to a list of interesting reads, I've been obsessed with it. I think it's an amazing read. It's certainly changed my perspective on a lot of things. So
Should
I
we
love.
add like 3 books that we have read recently that we like in the show
Definitely,
notes maybe?
definitely can do that
Let's
for
do
sure.
that, because like I have just gotten into reading recently, so I feel like I like also want that list from you.
Okay.
um but like yeah, like I don't know, like I feel like everything I've read so far like has really been, I don't know, just like I love the books that you read that like are meant to make you better,
Mm,
because then I feel like with my time I'm making more of my time.
yeah.
By the way, do you remember that movie Time with Justin Timberlake and Amanda Siegfried?
No, say
Oh my
more.
God. Okay. I'm gonna like send you a clip after this, or you like put a clip in here, but it's basically like their commodity is time. Like
Mhm.
money doesn't exist. They literally have like time on like that's like imprinted into them, and they use the time. So like you go into, let's say like you want to buy McDonald's, you go in and like you use your time like this, and like you do a little thing like this, and it like set it charges, it takes like 10 minutes off of your thing, right? So like the really really rich people have like millions of hours left,
Mm,
right? And then like the really poor people are barely scraping by, and they maybe have like an hour to live, and then like you see some people like die on the streets all of a sudden because like their time ran out. Like it's super dark, but it's actually
yeah.
like pretty interesting, like the concept, especially with like V passports and stuff too. Like
Mm, mm.
it's kind of just interesting, like that commodity, I guess. But yeah, you should watch it. I think it's called Time. I think it's called Time, and it's Justin Timberlake, of course, and Amanda Seyfried.
I'll
But
definitely
yeah,
check that
like
out. Sounds super interesting. It sounds.
yeah, it's sci-fi.
Can I like? I'll be super honest here and say my mind after what's happened the past 2 years. I remember when shit started, the plague started 2 years ago. I was like, oh, this is gonna blow over 6 weeks. We're never gonna get to a
Yeah,
point where they'll ask us for our V passes and things like that.
your papers.
Lo and behold, where are your papers, sir?
Yeah,
You can't enter.
there are your papers.
So my point is that actually, there's so many different memes and things and funny things that you
Yeah.
see,
Oh yeah.
but don't laugh that shit off. Like you see memes about like one day we're gonna have a basically you're gonna have a credit card, and that's going to determine your carbon footprint in the world. And meat is going to be one of the things. If you buy meat, it's going to be one of the biggest contributors to your carbon footprint. Credit
Yeah.
card.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. So that's what
Yeah.
we are fighting for. If we were fighting for anything, it's shit like that that has no warrants, no grind, no scientific research to back it up. But again, that was a funny meme I saw. But is it actually
But it's
funny?
real.
Probably not, because we're
There's
probably
truth
going
to
to it.
it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So
Exactly.
you're like laughing. It's like laughing and crying at the same time. You're like, ha, that'll never happen. 2 weeks to slow the spread. Ah,
Yeah.
here we are. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like I do see some of those things, and then like I honestly like I think I laugh for like a second, but then I like get really nervous because I'm like, oh, but this could totally happen though. Is anyone seen this? Is
Yeah.
anyone concerned? No? Okay, just me.
No,
Oh, cool. Yeah. No,
cool.
but I definitely feel the same way. I wanted to bring something up with you as well. As you know, I failed 75 hard. So, I wanted to just like mention this because like, okay, I went on the app and you have to basically like, so on the 75 hour app, you like put in like, you check off things, right? And then like you take your picture, and you check off your 2 workouts, you check off everything that's part of the 75 hard program, right? So on the day that you don't do it, there's literally a button at the bottom where it says like, I failed or whatever, right? So like this guy, the Andy Frisella guy, pops up and he goes, "Let me guess, your inner bitch won." And like all this stuff. I felt so bad that I didn't do it. And so I was like, oh my God. He knows. Like my inner bitch
Yeah.
won. And I like honestly at first I kind of like felt bad. And then I like thought about it and I was like, this guy's right. My inner bitch like did win. Okay. Can I just break this down for you of what I had to do? What I had to do,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Oh, sorry. Go on.
No,
What was your question?
no. Carry on, and then I'll respond because I
Okay,
have got
okay.
something to respond to this. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and then I had to push the button one more time, and then it was like, well, I guess your inner bitch did win. And like I was like, oh God. Like, so it happened like twice when it popped up. I don't know why I didn't send a screenshot. And the next time I fail, I'll like send you a screenshot. Okay. But basically what happened was I had to get up, we had to leave the house at 6 a.m. On a specific day. Let's say it was January 9th, I think. January 9th. Okay.
Mhm.
So we had to get up on that day and I had to wake up at 4 a.m., make sure a couple more things were done, walk the dogs. I knew that if I woke up at 3:30 a.m. in the morning before having to leave at 6 a.m., I knew I could do everything and do a 45-minute workout. Okay. Like I had to do that and do an outside workout at 3:30 in the morning. Like this is like my mind, like thinking of things and like prepping myself. At I had to wake up at 3:30 to do my 45-minute workout outside in order to check that off for the day before I started my, long flying day, right? So I didn't do that. I ended up waking up actually like not until like 4:30. And then I barely had time to like get the eggs ready and then like, walk the dogs, etc., and get to the airport and get our stuff. So then like, we finally get to LA and we still have to fly, we still have to drive 2 hours. And this is after like, 12 hours because it took a while to get through customs and then everything. So like all in all, from when I woke up, it's been like 15, 16 hours. However, we went back in time, right? Because Amsterdam is 9 hours ahead. So we went back in time. So right around like 5 p.m. is when I actually got to the hotel. Okay. So hear me out. Like if I had gone there at 5 p.m. and the gym was open, I could have then done my second workout if I had my first one. So I had already planned this out in my mind, Josh, that like I could have done it, right? And so like the more I thought about Andy Frisella saying my inner bitch won, I was like, dude, he's right. Like I could have done it. But then I really said that out loud to Taylor and he goes, you sound insane. Like
Yeah.
that you
I
wanted to wake up at 3:30.
I I mean, my response to that is I totally get where you're coming from and I get your personality type. And
Yeah.
but listen, you've had a crazy fucking few months, Nicole. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know if this is just like the inner coach coming out of me, but dog, you've had a crazy few fucking months. Like, be kind to yourself. It's just a 75 hard. You're one of the most consistent people I know. So if I were to tell you anything, it's like, yes, you can listen to that whole thing, oh, fuck your inner bitch, or the David Goggins running unnecessarily giving you these like motivational videos. But bottom line is that you're pretty fucking consistent, and it's not about being perfect. It's not about whatever keep your routine. I think the 75 hard might have helped during your time in Europe, especially when
Yeah.
things were in lockdown. But honest, like there's so much more to life than again.
I
Maybe
know.
you should read that 4,000 weeks. Maybe it'll open up your mind.
Oh my God, I know. And that's the thing. And like the thing is, like, I honestly like Taylor was also like encouraging me. And he goes, dude, like, he's like, let's go to the gym. Like, you can get your workout in. And then like we'll do another one. Like, because you have to do that workouts 2 hours apart.
All right.
And he's like, so he was still encouraging me, which I really liked. And like supportive husband, loved that. And I just like looked at him and I was like, I have been up for 24 fucking hours. I was like, the last thing I want to do is like actually like go to the gym right now. Like, and I would,
Yeah.
you get to the point too, like you've traveled internationally for really long flights. Like, you just get to the point where you're like, dude, like, I don't care. Like, I just want I want my head to hit the pillow. Like, I want to sleep. Like, we don't sleep on the flight because the dogs. So, like, we're always like awake because they're always like, you know, up to no good or just like staring at us and doing weird things anyway. But the thing is though, like I kind of feel like 75 hard is what I needed, like you said, during that stressful time. where things were really uncertain for me. I didn't know if I was coming back to America. I was under a lot of stress, just kind of like figuring out what my next move was, and there was lockdowns. So I think that I utilized 75 hard to distract me from that. However, if you aren't internationally traveling, right, and having that, like, uh, maybe I won't do like 75 hard, but I do think this is something I can practice every day. Like the 10 page, like the reading, I'm now reading and I never read before, which is pretty freaking awesome. Like, and now I do like a hike or a walk every day. And then I do my weightlifting every day. Like, it kind of is like pretty amazing. Like, it's not extreme for me. It's not something that I can't handle, but I think the letdown of being like, dude, like I was like 43 days in, and that, you know, I was trying to make that international day work. It's like, dude, like I don't think this serves me anymore, because I now have another 15-hour drive. Like,
exactly. And for me, a lot of people might disagree, but that's where I don't enjoy the measurement side of things at times, because I mentioned at the beginning of the show, James Clear, he wrote that brilliant book, Atomic Habits. But you've just said it yourself. You are so glad that you've become a reader. You know, it shouldn't be about reading 10 pages or doing 75 days of something. Again, this is a personal opinion. People have different ways they get things done, but it shouldn't be about doing X number of days or getting to an X number of weight, whatever. It should be about becoming a person who does a specific thing, becoming a reader, becoming a fitness person. You know, if your fitness goal is putting on your shoes and just going for a walk, cool. You are doing an activity that is making you a better person. It's not necessarily about getting 10,000 steps a day. It's just getting into the habit of doing that activity. And once you've got the habits, you set, because you start enjoying it more, you get better over time, you build up this resilience. So
now I want to do it every day. Like, here's the problem. Like, here's
Yeah.
the glorious thing is like, maybe I don't want to do the program, but like I'm doing those things every day. I picked up on the right after it failed, I picked it back up and
There
I
you
was
go.
doing it again. And I was just like, I love this. And now like I read full chapters. I don't just read 10 pages, you know, like I read the full chapter and I read like when I want to versus watching TV sometimes now. Like there's so many good things that came from it, but I'm also the person where like I think mental health is really important, and I think it gave me what I needed. Like it served me for a specific period of time where I think I needed it, but I don't have the ego in, I can admit that it's not something that I probably need to continue at this point, because I feel like I'm already living my best life. Like, you know what I mean? Like I have what I need, and I'm so thankful for it. And I think it changes a lot of people's lives. But at this point, like I have the discipline down. I know what I want to do every day, but there are going to be days like coming up. I have another 15-hour drive from San Diego to Boise, right? Like, do I want to stress about having to work out twice during that day? No, I don't give a shit. Like, I don't care enough now. I'm like, dude, like, I don't care. Does that mean I'm going to fall off and not work out for 5 days? No, you bet your ass. Like, I already have like a gym membership where I'm going to be like going to the gym every morning, you know, and doing what I do. So I do think that, when it gets to the point of like no longer serving you, then cool. It did its job, you know. 45 hard, or sorry, 43 hard. That's
There
what
we
I'm
go.
talking about.
There
Yeah.
we go.
But yeah, like know your limits, I guess. And I knew mine, you know, and I love that my, you know, Taylor was like being super supportive. That's super sweet. But like I was like, yo, bro, like we done. Like I'm going to sleep. Yeah. So I don't know.
Speaking of, I'm sure you're pretty excited to hit that to hit that pillows.
Well, here's the thing.
What
Taylor's
time
like
is it there?
not home yet.
I don't even think we mentioned this, but what time is it there? And then I'll tell you what time it is here in South Africa at the moment, because
Okay,
it's so
so
black.
it is 8:50 p.m. in the evening, 2050.
Wow, it is
What time is it
6:50 in
there?
the morning, 6:50 a.m. in the morning in South Africa the next day. So I'm the 13th of Jan, you still on the 12th of Jan.
Oh yeah, we were trying to like schedule this. I thought it was like literally tomorrow night.
Yeah.
And you're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 no. Like you already had sent me an invite for tonight.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But I will say, like, my jet lag, I don't know if it's like meat based or what. Josh, I have slept 8 or 9 hours every night. I've stayed up during the full day. I haven't had any issues, haven't gotten COVID. I had to do like a COVID test today just to make sure, like just a home test. But
Mm.
yeah, like I don't know, but like I'm I don't know if it's like the meat base. I think it might be, or like maybe like how much water I drink. But oh, also we are taking supplements right now. I wanted to mention this to you. We are taking supplements right now to be extra preventative, because of how many COVID, like just because of the Omicron and how much more it's being spread right now. So we are actually taking preventative measures. We're taking quercetin, zinc, vitamin D, um, and then like I take. I just want to mention this. Like I take glucosamine chondroitin, which is like the shells from like shellfish, basically, like crushed up, and it's for like your joints. Like so, like that's what you give to dogs. You know, like you give dogs like the thing for their joints. You know, because you want their joints to stay good. Do you have that in South Africa? Like the joint
I've
medication for dogs?
I mean, I'm sure there is, but I've never heard of that specific one. But I'm almost sure
Oh, okay.
that exists. Yeah, it must do.
So it's basically like shellfish, and then like the chondroitin comes from bovine. So
Mm.
like there, it's basically like it's animal based, right? But I've been taking that for years for my knee, and that seems to help me a bit. And it's animal based, so you can
Mm.
actually like get the nutrient. I think that's why it works so well because your body can actually like process, the animal based nutrients. And then I've been going in the sun every day, just to be like extra preventative, right? So like obviously, as you know, like vitamin D you get from the sun, but we're also taking a supplement, quercetin, you can get over the counter. It's nothing crazy, but that's been known to help a lot. And then the zinc. Zinc is also, as we know, found in red meat, right? So eating these, nutrient rich meats also
Mm.
helps. But I just wanted to like put that out there because we're definitely like we're just trying to be, as I guess proactive in preventing us getting sick. But yeah, neither of us to date, neither of us have had it. But I just wanted to throw those three out there.
Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know about you. Is it crazy? And how's it going in South Africa? Like, is it just kind of making its way through like the common cold here?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's sort of just wiggling its way through South Africa, and to be honest with you, like nothing crazy. I think most people here spend a lot of time outside in the sun, and
Yeah.
we've got pretty good healthcare this side. Like contrary to maybe popular beliefs, we've got a really good healthcare system this side. So I feel super safe here. But
Yeah.
again, I would never let this virus or anything for that matter stop me from living, my life the
No.
way
Yeah.
other people think differently. Other people are super, super nervous, which I understand. When anyone's faced with their own mortality and their own fear of death, people get weird. But I think, I think COVID in general is just a great time to reflect on. This might sound super philosophical and deep, but it's a good time to reflect again on thinking about that book 4,000 weeks on how finite your time is on earth. So you may as
Hmm.
well fucking live it, because I could just as well easily get hit by a car, or who
Yeah.
fucking knows. I live in South Africa. I could get stabbed. So probably more likely to get stabbed than die of COVID. So just putting that out there.
We took a turn. We took a
Yeah,
turn
we
this
took it. We took
time.
we took a big turn.
Took
Yeah.
a dark turn. No, like I agree with that because there's so many people that, fear mongering or scaring people with propaganda is real, right? I think there's a lot of stuff that's come out in the last week or so that's like telling people like, hey, like, you're at risk for this, right? Or hey, like if you're overweight or obese, like you have a higher risk, right, of having like complications with COVID or death, right? So there's things coming out now that hopefully those people that are extra scared can see, but there's things that you can do, right, to help prevent what comes with that, right? And Taylor and I, like, we're not scared by any means, but we are taking preventative measures. Like I just told you, like we're just taking some extra supplements. It doesn't really, like, it costs what, $30, like doesn't really affect us. It doesn't change how we act. It doesn't change anything about us or like our mentality. It really is just like, hey, you know what, here are some things that are known to make COVID less, right? Or like the symptoms less. So why not? But yeah, I will say the next time we do record, I will be in Idaho for a couple months. So I'll be up in Boise for a couple months trying to see if I'm all about that winter life, and hopefully we'll be skiing. But I always ask people, I'll ask you, Josh, if you could see me end up in Idaho or Florida, where would you see me end up?
You know my answer. Surely you know my answer
It's
to that.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh my
where
God.
it's
Yeah.
at.
I don't know what I'm gonna do without it's just the sun, man. It's the sun.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about that since I've been here, Josh. It's been consistent sun since I've been here, right? It's similar to South Africa, but like it really like changes your mood. Like it's just everything. Like it's kind of insane. So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna report back to you and let you know how it's going in the snow.
Looking forward to that.
So yeah, the
It
ongoing joke is just figuring out things I don't like so I know what I do like.
exactly. Again, I'm only laughing because I'm only flying back to Amsterdam on the 18th of Feb. But it's just one big fucking adventure for me right now and for you as
Yeah.
well. So I'm just
Yeah.
taking it all in. Um, I miss my setup and my standing desk and my fancy computer in Amsterdam, but fuck, you just go with it. You just go with whatever's coming at
It's
you,
like a
and
trade-off, right? Like
yeah,
it's almost like a trade-off. Like,
yeah,
yeah, like I think you can be happy wherever you are. You just got to find out what works for you. But I'm
yeah,
all about, like, if you're not happy somewhere and it's because of where you're living, move,
yeah. It's a
find a new
huge
job, try to work virtual. Yeah.
it's a huge thing. Where you live makes a huge difference. I'm still a firm believer in nothing will ever make you happy. You can only be happy. And it's
Yes.
taken me a long time to figure out that concept. But nothing you get will make you happy. You can only ever be happy. But yes, I will agree with you that if you can live where you want to live and in a city where you want to live with the person you want to love, that makes a huge difference. It does make a huge difference. So I'm not
Yeah.
denying that. But yeah, it all depends.
Yeah. Well, we shall see, but yeah, I think that this move back to America is exactly what I needed. I feel lighter now. I
Mm-hmm.
have 3 weeks off before going back to work at my old company. But yeah, like I'm really just thankful, dude. Like I don't even care what happens. Like I'm back in America. Like I don't even care. Like someone could, you know what I mean? Like I'm just at that point where I'm just like, I'm here, like whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But freedom tastes good. Let's see. But yeah, but you have to come visit us, and like we'll miss you so much in Amsterdam. And we already missed that place. It was so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
magical. I hope it opens up when you get back there.
Yeah, I hope so too. And I mean, listen, again, you always can come back for a holiday and come visit there. So that's the beauty of it. It's not going anywhere. Europe's not
Yeah,
going
no,
anywhere.
it'll be there. That's
Yeah.
true. This is very true.
Yeah.
But awesome. Okay, cool. Well, I hope everyone has a great time listening. Remember to know your limits, love yourself, eat good food, and know what the heck you're putting in your body. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
much. And watch the Time movie with Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Really Oscar stuff.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.